Hi, if you're new to this channel, my name's Phil and I'm co-founder of EasyA. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to prepare for the 11 Plus exams. These are going to be the broad strategies that you can use for 11 Plus exam success. It's not going to go too much into the weeds. We're not going to go through individual questions that you might come across in the exam. And that's because the 11 Plus exam is an interesting exam. It's different from GCSEs and it's different from A-levels in that with A-levels and GCSEs, you have a small number of exam boards, to name a few: OCR, EdXL, AQA, and you also have a few others. But with the 11 Plus, you have a much bigger number. So you have some schools which are the London 11 Plus Consortium, which are part of that consortium and which have a certain set of exams. And there are also others which have their own exams. So they set their own and they're quite unique. And what that means is that to prepare yourself for those, you should really be equipped with broad strategies for success rather than particular ones which are very brittle and can't be applied across the board. And that's what we're going to cover today. This video is roughly structured into 3 parts, and it's the 3 core tips that I'm going to cover. First of all, what you should be doing way out from exams. So these are things that you should really be thinking about from day one, as soon as you know you're going to be taking the 11 Plus exams. Second of all, we're then going to come on to broadly revision, what you should be doing when you are covering topics again, once you've maybe studied them at school, and you're really starting to think about preparing for the exam itself. You're starting to think about it more seriously. And finally, we're going to talk about consolidation. That's the final part of your studying process when your exams are really quite close and you're just trying to get those extra few percents, just trying to really increase your results as much as possible in the final stretch. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll understand why I structure it in this way, and it's because of the way that we learn. Now, to start with the basics, when you're really far out from the exams, the number one thing you should do is find out which exams your school is setting, whether your school is part of a consortium. That is, the school you're applying for. And that's because if your school, or the school you're applying for, is part of a consortium, you often won't be able to find exams on the school's website themselves. You won't be able to find the exam papers. For example, if you are applying to Francis Holland School or Godolphin and Latimer in London, you won't be able to find past papers on their website. Instead, you're going to have to go to the London 11 Plus Consortium website because those schools are part of this consortium. And on that website, you will find information about the exams, the structure of the exam, the format, how long you have for questions, and importantly, how you do answer those questions. You have a separate booklet, but I will come on to that later on in this video. Now, once you know this, what you need to do is go onto their website, go onto the website which has those sample papers. It may be the consortium website, or it may be the school itself if they set their own exams, and download all of the past papers that you can find. Now, the reason I say this is because the official past papers that the schools give on their websites are the holy grail. They are pretty much what will come up in the exam, or at least the structure is the same. And they give this to you so that you can be guided in your revision and in your studying. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, these past papers are really invaluable because examiners love to set the same things year in, year out. And when you've done one paper, I wouldn't say you've done them all, but once you've done one, you know gradually what they will be setting in future years. And the more past papers you can do, the more you can get your hands on, the better you will know what they're going to set. And finally, as the final part of this section, check for whether there's a syllabus. Check for whether there is a syllabus available on the school website. Not all schools do publish a syllabus. Some want to keep it as a secret, but some do. And where they do have this syllabus, you should really take advantage of it because it means you can focus your revision. We'll come into revision in a second. But it means that when you do come to revision, you'll be able to be really focused because there's no point in learning anything that won't be set on the exam, at least, in the context of preparing for the exams and getting top marks. You won't need to cover that stuff if it's not on the syllabus, and it means that you can save a lot of time and really focus where it matters. If there is no syllabus available, that's also not a problem. As I discussed in one of my previous videos, the unwritten syllabus is the exam papers themselves. So go and find the past papers, have a look at how they are structured, what types of questions come up, and you will find what the syllabus is. because examiners love to test the same questions year in, year out. Now, when it does actually come to revision, once you're a little bit closer to the exams, what you should do is right at the beginning, try a past paper. And what this is important for is getting you into the right frame of mind. You will understand what types of questions come up and roughly how much time you have. It doesn't matter if it's too scary, and don't worry about getting a good mark this early on. It's just about familiarizing yourself. So, if you're applying, for example, to St. Paul's Girls, you'll want to download one of the maths papers or English papers or comprehension papers and just have a go at it. You know, it's good to save up papers, but at this stage, it's so early on that you'll probably have forgotten it by the time you come to the consolidation phase and are closer to the exam. So have a go at the paper, and what you're looking for here is to give yourself a feeling of how it's going to be in the exam. And the reason that it's important, again, is because you will then have that flavor of the exam and you'll know what to focus on when you are in your revision. You'll know, okay, I really struggled with division, I need to focus on this. Or I really struggled with the wordy questions, and so I need to focus on that. Then, once you have done a past paper, what you should be doing is going through the syllabus, if there is one, and checking off the subjects that you have done. So for example, if division is on the syllabus, which it almost certainly will be, then go and have a look at your division. Try a few sample questions. These may not necessarily be from the official past papers. You know, division is something that's relatively standard across the board. So you might have a textbook that you've been using in school, and you can have a go at the questions. Maybe it's long division that you've struggled with. So have a go at some long division questions. And once you're really strong on those, once you really understand them, tick them off the syllabus, tick them off the list. If you're a little bit shaky on them, then put an asterisk next to it and come back to it later. Or just pencil in some time later on in the week, or whenever you have time and are coming on to revision soon. The final stage after revision, after you've done a couple of past papers, and after you've really understood the topics that are on the syllabus or the unwritten syllabus, what you need to do now is to finesse and focus on exam technique. I said earlier that in revision, you shouldn't necessarily be focusing on speed. Consolidation is where you do focus on speed. This is when you're maybe a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months out from the exam. You're going to want to start focusing on speed and getting that up. So if you know you only have 1 hour in the exam to do all of the questions, you're going to want to work out, okay, how many questions do I need to do in what amount of time? And how long do I have per question? And then start working on improving that. I mentioned that you will need to know how long you have to do the whole paper. And where you will find this is either on the school's website or on the exam paper itself, so on the rubric. Now this first page on the exam paper will have instructions on how you're meant to answer the exam. It will tell you the amount of time you have. It will tell you how to answer the questions. For example, whether you need to use an HB pencil or not. Or maybe it says that you need to put all of your answers in the answer booklet rather than writing in the question booklet. Now this is absolutely invaluable to know because, for example, for the London 11 Plus Consortium, if you are taking that exam and you write your answers in the question booklet, that won't be marked at all. In which case you will get 0%, even though you may have got everything correct, simply for the fact that you haven't put it in the answer booklet. And importantly, do these questions under timed conditions and make sure that you are focusing 100% during them. The reason I say this is because if you aren't really focusing when you're doing the practice papers, if you come to the exam, then the chances are that you won't be focused either. So try and do it under real exam conditions. So if it says that you can only answer an HB pencil, if it says that you can only put your answers in the answer booklet, make sure that you follow those instructions. And the point is that you will really understand what you need to do in the exam. It will become second nature, so that by the time you walk into that exam hall, the real thing, you'll be pretty confident. You'll know, okay, I've got my HB pencil. I don't need to worry about even reading the instructions. I already know them off by heart. So I go to the answer paper and I put in my answers after I've done the questions, and I don't really need to bother answering any questions in the question booklet itself. Maybe I can use it as some rough working, but really what I should be focused on is putting the answers in the answer booklet itself. Now, when you start consolidation, when you're trying to do a past paper under time conditions, let's say the paper only gives you 1 hour to do all of the questions, it can be frightening at first, but you shouldn't be discouraged. Everyone will find it difficult when they're coming out of revision period into consolidation. because not everybody's been focusing on speed yet. But what you should be confident in is that you've got the fundamentals. And if you understand the real fundamentals underlying each topic, you will be able to work on speed. And I've seen students go from being really slow at questions, and I've done it myself when I was studying, being really slow, but knowing the fundamentals. And then just through practice, lowering the amount of time that you need to spend per question. So sometimes you might be spending double at the beginning of revision, and by the time you finish consolidation, you brought it right down to the amount of time that you will need. So that concludes our whistle-stop tour through how to prepare for the 11 plus exams. There's definitely a lot more than can be said, but those are some really good, rough guidelines for what you should be focusing on. First of all, looking at the exam papers that are available, downloading them, understanding which exams you are going to be taking well before you even come to revision. Then when you do come to revision, having a look at the structure of the exam papers, familiarizing yourself with the structure, understanding what types of questions will come up and what is on the syllabus. And then finally, working on timing once you've really understood the fundamentals. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was helpful. If you have any questions or your own tips on how to prepare for the 11 plus, please do leave them in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe to get notified when we release new videos, which will be coming up soon. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.